Hi friends, welcome back to
Wish You Love Podcast.
I'm Marilyn.
And I'm Jazmine.
And we are so blessed to have you here clicking on our episode today. It is still February. We're still on the theme of love and this Wish You Love podcast. Be sure to spread the love and share this episode with a friend or a family member that maybe needs to hear this. Also, be sure to open up your journals, write this question down, and really get into what we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, hello, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening to our Spotify or Apple, please leave us a rating and let us know how you're liking the podcast.
Also want to add, we do have a link in our bio if you'd like to ask us questions.
Yes.
I'd love to hear from you guys. Anything. It is anonymous, so we don't know who submits these. So please feel free to click on the link in our bio and ask us some questions. It could be anything that you want us to talk about: love, relationships, family, friends, culture, you name it. Like, ask away.
So we're going to start off with our opening question, which is, what is your favorite rom-com? All right, Jasmine, what is your favorite rom-com?
Okay, my favorite rom-com, there's so many good ones. I'm not a movie person, you guys. I think I mentioned this before, but lately, because of Angel, and I think rom-coms is the romance and rom-coms are where I tend to go more. Honorable mention to Anyone But You. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's in theaters. It's really good. Typical cheesy, but super good. But my answer is going to be Crazy Rich Asians. I really like that movie. I think it's so nice to just laugh, and I even teared up at the end. So it's like a good mixture of everything, and I just think the storyline itself, it goes to show just what real true love means and is. But yeah, that's my answer.
That's a good answer. I only seen it once, but I remember loving it, so I need to watch it again.
And they have that epic wedding scene too.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I like the hotel scene where she owns it and they were discriminating against her, period. I own the place. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Come on now. So for me to answer this, I would definitely say My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I've grown up watching that movie with my mom. I resonated hard with Tula, and it's just such a cute movie about finding yourself and finding love. And it's that typical, like she said, cheesy rom-com. I think all rom-coms are cheesy. If it's not done correctly. But it's a beautiful older movie. And I heard that they came out with a number 2. So I definitely need to watch it.
Fun fact, I actually just watched it last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's really good.
Okay, I do see it.
So
I'm
there's
surprised I
3.
haven't.
There's 3.
Oh, there's 3.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
What in the world? Oh gosh, my favorite rom-com. I haven't seen the rest of them.
It's such a cute movie, and I think what I love the most about that movie, so good answer, is getting to understand Greek life and culture, how they're raised and and I think it really shows that, which is really cool, because I feel like a lot of movies don't showcase a lot of other cultures. It's always the traditional, the Hispanic or in a white family, and this is different. It's okay. And I know when I was watching the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, Angel, look, their version of, in Spanish, it's called the lazo, when you get married. I love that theirs is flower crowns. Symbolizes the same thing, but different. And so,
exactly. Very similar.
Yeah. But good choice. I love them.
Very good. If you haven't watched any of those that we've mentioned, take a listen. This month of February is the perfect time to watch a rom-com.
And if you have any suggestions for us, feel free to DM us or drop it down in the comments or on Instagram. We love rom-coms, so share with us.
Share with us.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to jump into this episode's question, pull out those journals, start thinking of and reflecting as we go. But the question for today is, what are your top 3 core values that guide your life? Again, sticking on the theme of love, this is the time to love yourself, and this is the month where I hope you do the most loving. So really think about those 3 core values that make you and guide you in life. And I'll pass it to you, Marilyn.
So my 3 core values are for sure, number 1, faith. Number 2, compassion. And number 3, wisdom. So as for my faith, I think we've talked about this in the Faith Over Fear episode, especially. I think it's important to have faith in something, whatever that may be. You all know that I have faith in, like, I have my religion and stuff. So I think just that being a guiding source in my life of just my morals, my core values, and like how I proceed in a situation. For instance, you know, I got out of my master's program, and so now I am very much trying to get a full-time job or just get good work. It's really hard when you're trying to be a professor, I will say. And it was really hard in the beginning because, and remember, I have to give myself grace. That's something that I don't do a lot, that I'm trying to do, is give myself grace and remember, hey, you just graduated, like, calm down. Like, you don't need a full-time job right off the bat. Like, it's not really common in my field. It's not common at all, actually, in my field. And so I got an interview at one of my dream colleges to work at, and I didn't get the job. And I was disappointed in myself, but I was also like, no, you did your best. You came looking beautiful, like elegant and like professional. You came and answered the questions eloquently, like, you know your stuff, you're qualified. And so I just really had to have that faith that this wasn't for me. I did get put on the pool, so the adjuncting pool. So it's like where they can call you if a class opens up. And I was like, who knows when that will be, right? But having faith, my core value, was really important. And remember, these core values are big in my life, but it's also, I have to remind myself a lot of the time. So that, and then, so I had applied for this other job that was not in my field, that wasn't anything that I really, really wanted for myself, but I was like, I need to work. And I fit the preferred qualifications. The preferred qualification was a bachelor's, and I have a master's, and yet they told me that I didn't fit the minimum qualifications. And that was a slap in the face and a sock in the gut, because I was like, how? But it's because for the past 7 years of being in school, I've only worked part-time. And so they literally cut my 7 years in half, which I'm like, what? That's a whole nother topic of me dedicating so much time into that, but okay. But having faith and knowing that that job was not for me, and it has nothing to do with me. I'm more than qualified to doing that job. The job that I interviewed for, I was more than qualified to get it, but it wasn't for me. I actually had gotten a call literally a day or 2 days after I had gotten the minimum, the news about the other job I didn't really want. And I got an adjuncting job. So I'm officially an adjunct professor at the dream college I want to work at. Yay! Yeah, and it's a big deal. I cried so much, and it just really my number one core is just having that faith, right? Having that faith that you're on the track. Calm down. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. And so just having that faith. So faith is my number one. My number two is compassion. I think compassion to all life, compassion to animals, compassion to people's feelings, how the circumstances that people are going under. That's a huge one for me. People always ask me, like, what's one thing that you want to pass down to your children? And it's compassion. It's always compassion. And so that's my number two. Hence why I'm a vegetarian, having compassion for animals and having that mercy on them and just not wanting to harm anything or anyone. That's the last thing I want in my life. So compassion. And my number three is wisdom. I think there's so much power in wisdom, whether that be in education or even in outside of education, having wisdom of yourself, of your relationships around you. Like Jasmine had said in a previous episode, getting to know the people around you so you can come in a place of love and understanding. And so having that wisdom that will help you in your lifetime. So I definitely believe that wisdom is important, and we're always forever lifelong learners. And so those are my three core values.
I love that. I think if anyone knows Marilyn, like all her girlfriends listening to this, or maybe even Anthony, that those three words truly do define you, like who Marilyn is. So very nice said. I know I mentioned in the last episode, like one thing I love about you. I'll say another one and this one because you just reminded me and I want to state it out and say it. Definitely your faith. Like, I've never met someone who, like, will remind me and will showcase, right, actions over words of, like, that faith aspect of it. And I know, like, when we talked about that episode and we talked about, like, the faith over fear, like, that is truly something that I put on my vision board this year because I'm like, that is so true. Like, as I see you, as I learn, as I grow, faith over fear. Like, I always tell myself that too. Like, I'm going through, Marilyn, you know, like a pain right now with sciatica. It's like the nerve and whatever. Point is like my mom is so quick to be like, oh my God, like someone like, you know, like probably wished bad on you, or like, you know, like what happens? Like, I don't know. She just freaks out all the time of like me being in this pain. But like mine is, this year I'm practicing like what you're saying, like faith over fear. Like, I'm like, I have faith. It's going to go away. It's painful, but like, it's fine. Like, I know it'll get better. It's not forever. Like, but yeah, I love everything that you said. And those 3 core values truly, I think, do define like who you are. And I love that you shared that with others and everyone here listening, because kind of gets them, I think, to think about more about themselves. And maybe anyone listening, you can relate to Marilyn and be like, oh, I'm with you with faith, or I'm with you with compassion. Like, that's me too. So curious if you guys can comment if you resonate with something that Marilyn said. We're gonna repeat the question here again. The question for today is, what are your top 3 core values that guide your life? So for me, my top 3 core values consist of gratitude, growth, and genuine relationships. With gratitude, I would like to say that I'm always someone that likes to say thank you and to pass like the gratitude that I have with those around me. My love language is gift giving, and I think that's one way that I show like my gratitude. You know, I usually am the type where I will go to the store and be like, oh, I want to get this for this person as like a thank you gift or just something. But gratitude to me, I think that's such an important core value to have. Like, we talked about this on an episode as well. Like, what you are living right now or what you have, like others wish that they have that or in your position. And I think it's like having that thankfulness, that gratitude in you is really like something that I just have, because it's like, wow, like you know, I may not be living somewhere nice, but I have a home. Like, I have something that's mine. Like, you know, just gratitude for all the little moments. You know, one of the things you posted way back when we talked about, like, I think it was a gratitude episode as well. It's like, we go to school like nothing. Like, it's like, we're going to school. But it's like, you know how many people like wish they could get education and like go to school, like switch positions with you and like do the homework and stay up late and like have the freedom to pick classes and go. Like, just, I don't know. It's like, when you really put yourself and think about the outside world and not where we're at today, like, there's so much to be grateful for. And I think that's why that's one of my first one that I wanted to touch base off, like just gratitude. I feel like I'm always such a grateful person, and I try my best to showcase that with those around me. Even like simple things like on my birthdays for those who are close to me, or on the events that I like host with my girlfriends and stuff. It's like, I always love to like write letters and just showcase that gratitude and like thank them for being here and just creating these memories with me. Even like on my birthday, when it's usually like your birthday's supposed to be by yourself, like I'm always like, no, like I want to be like, thank you to everyone around me. My second one being growth. I think I'm someone who just has always like, that's just a value that I hold on and I take with me every time. Like, I am always one where I'm just like, I want to see everyone around me succeed and grow. Like, I just think growth never stops. Like, okay, great, you have the job that you want. What's the next step? Like, how are you going to grow now from here? Because you should never, in my opinion, stay stagnant, where it's just wow, I have a home, I'm just gonna stay here now. It's like, no, it's like, okay, but what's next? Like, how can you make it more like a home, or how can you maybe get another home or something? But I just think growth is something that I truly hold on to, that I share with those around me, that I always tell those, like, what's next? Like, you know, what do you want to do now with life? Like, even like the new year, right? We talked about like creating those like vision boards and stuff. Like, that's all part of growth too. Like, it should never, if your year still looks the same or feels the same as it was last year, I don't think you gotta do some reflection, friends. Like, nothing should be the same. Like, there's always growth.
Proceed in life. Like,
think about like the episode that we recorded and dropped 2 weeks ago. I talked about like life being like a book. Imagine if the character always stayed the same. Like, how boring and like how uninteresting would that book be? Like, I'm sure you'd just toss it and go grab another book. Like, you want to make your story where every chapter is different and new characters are written in there, and just growth professionally, personally, just overall is showcased and dictated every chapter. So growth for sure. And then lastly, genuine relationships. As you reach a certain age, I think you start to realize, and I know Marilyn challenged me, and I think she mentioned this in the podcast, like really sitting down with like writing down like who's in my circle and like how can I categorize them. Select your people, yes. And so I mentioned this before, and I'm just going to repeat it again, like finding the genuine circle and like weeding out the ones that are not. Like, I think that's like another recent now core value. I've always been like someone surrounded by friends just because of my personality and because I like friends. I didn't grow up with a lot of siblings or cousins, so friends have always like kind of been that replacement for me, where I treat my friends like family, or I celebrate wins, and like it's different. I feel like I love friends, all the relationships I have around me, like my boyfriend and my friends and like the cousins that I'm close with, like I treat them differently, because it's like when you're part of my circle, it's like I really like love and go hard for you. But now it's like limiting that to really like the genuine people who reciprocate it back to me and like showcase the same love and energy. Yeah, just energy towards me. But yeah, I think those would be my three core values that make me who I am and that guide me through life, and especially when selecting like who I want now around me. Like, can these people bring that growth aspect? And not everyone will bring all three, and that's okay, but I think the people around me, or the people that I now choose to invite into my circle, like what do they bring and do they align with my values?
I want to say 3 things. Number 1, your first core value, when you were talking about gratitude, I felt like I was in church because I was just like praising. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like everything you were saying, I was even closing my eyes. I was like, everything you said, I felt, because you have to have that gratitude. And I feel that when you do have that gratitude, bigger blessings come. So gratitude is like a huge one for me too. I love that you mentioned that. It's such a good value to have within yourself. So I love that. Number 2, growth. That's the whole point of our podcast, is for all of us to grow as individuals and together. So the whole point of the podcast is to inspire everyone to continue to grow and spread love, obviously, and to always be the best version of yourself. So I love that Jazmine mentioned that, because that's the whole point of the podcast, and hence why she's, literally co-hosting the podcast, because she signifies like growth. It's a big part of her life. And especially the last core value, I feel that that's just you. Like, Jazmine is just such a big person in like relationships. Like, we've talked about it before, of like how you're always hosting things, you're always having things. She has like a good group of girlfriends, and like she just values those relationships. So when you have somebody in your life that is like that, it's like, it's a good person. So they're good values that you have. I love them all. They're very good.
And I love how you mentioned about the podcast, because yeah, like that really is our purpose, you guys. Like, this podcast is meant to like have you reflect. And that self-reflection helps with growth. Like, these are questions that we've talked about this before, but it's like, your answers may not be the same as our answers, or maybe they are, but like that, whatever answer you have is just meant to have you take a step back from your normal activities, right? You don't have time to grow or to reflect when you're so caught up with like life.
Yes.
That I hope that this podcast like gives you that opportunity to listen to us talk and be like, like I agree, or I love that Marilyn has compassion. Like that's something I want to strive for. Like how can I do that? Or like, you know, like I know me myself, like we come to these podcast recordings, usually we don't really know the questions. We'll talk about them like before, but we don't know like how we're going to answer it or what the case is. But it's me as like a co-host, I still learn from Marilyn. Like when she's answering or when I listen back to these episodes, I'm like, like that is so like, wow, like let me, how can I add that to me? Or like, wow, like I want to be like that too. Or like I said, the faith over fear, like now that's something I carry on. And I'm like, yes, like I put it on my vision board. Like I love that. So growth truly comes, hopefully with also listening to this podcast, but truly comes from reflection, from listening to those around you and how they answer questions and how they behave and their values and everything. And I hope this episode allows you to really sit back and think about your values and what makes you you. Yeah. And in spirit of Valentine's month, give yourself that love and that time to reflect.
Beautifully said, Jasmine. I just want to say too that, you know, as we're wrapping up, I couldn't have asked a better person to be God have mercy. I could have asked a better person to be a co-host because like this is just a perfect episode of where we see our core values and how they do intertwine with one another. Although our core values are different, right? Our 3 top are different, but we do share them together in different ways as well. So just wanted to share that too, since this is a month of love. Love you so much. Love this podcast. Love the journey. I feel the same. Like I feel that I'm growing as well with Jasmine. We're taking from each other certain aspects and we're leaving some things like, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I'm learning from her story. She's learning from mine. And we want to learn from you as well. So that's why we always encourage you to comment down below or DM us or comment on a picture on our Instagram. So always feel free to connect with us at Wish You Love Pod. We love you so much and thank you so much for being here today. And above all else, we wish you love. Bye, friends.